Welcome back to the Group Practice Accelerator podcast, brought to you by Polaris Healthcare Partners, where we leverage decades of healthcare and business experience to drive growth in successful group practices just like yours. If you're a healthcare entrepreneur and you're interested in building, scaling, or exiting your group practice, you've found not only the industry's leading resource for business education, but a team of trusted advisors dedicated to helping you achieve and exceed your goals. In short, the team at Polaris creates clarity, confidence, and results. I'm your host, Jamie Falasz, and the Group Practice Accelerator podcast is on the air. Well, hey everyone, thanks for joining me for another episode today because we're going to address an issue that we get a lot of calls about. And by the end of the episode, you're going to find out exactly how you can get dialed in to solve for the things that we're going to discuss. And spoiler alert, you get to participate in person on this one. So what are those issues that we get asked about so often? Well, it's probably no surprise to learn that docs struggle to improve production, revenue, the bottom line, not only for their associates, but sometimes for themselves as well. Costs are going up, debt's not improving, and with production and procedure mix holding steady, that's not a zone anybody should be comfortable with. So we know there's a gap that needs to be addressed, but of course, always good news. And the good news is that that gap can be closed through doctor development. I know that might sound a little oversimplified. Well, it is and it isn't. Yes, doctor development takes time, strategy, practice to see that $5,000 a day or $1 million or more in production, but it can be done and it's not complex, even if you think you don't have the time to manage it. And we have a great way for you to kickstart your program. So stay with me here and we'll fill you in. But as you know, I don't do this podcast solo every week, and this week is no different. So here with me today to help us walk through the problem and the solutions that you could take part in is Polaris' own CEO, Diwakar Sinha. Diwakar, welcome back to the show.
Jamie, thank you.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about today, and I want to kick this off because I kind of beat around the bush in the intro, but we have to come clean. We know doctor development can be one of those wish list kind of items for owners, and it doesn't have to be. That 5K a day in production, we know that's achievable, and far more than that, of course, because we see it all the time. And that greater confidence in case presentation, case acceptance rather, we know that's achievable. So as you've probably seen on our LinkedIn channels, Polaris is going to be holding its next chapter in a masterclass series called The Leadership Advantage, to be held in Charlotte this January 15th and 16th, and is designed to help entrepreneurs achieve exactly the elements I mentioned and a lot more. So, Diwakar, maybe you could lead us in with more of the why for our audience before we get into the sessions and more details, because I want people to understand why we're doing this and continuing this masterclass series and taking it in a doctor development path.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think, as we work with groups across the country, we work on the executive side, transaction side. And one of the gaps we see, Jamie, as you mentioned, is clinical development of doctors. So, as we see revenue growth within practices, practice by practice or organization by about 2% to 5% CAGR, which stands for compounded annual growth rate, we started to dive in deeper within these practices and started to see that the doctor production was not improving meaningfully.
Mm-hmm.
And what that meant was that we focus on three pillars of practice of performance: people, process, patient flow. So, and what that could have meant is marketing was working better. Awesome to see that. More patients are coming in. We might have better processes potentially to allow that. We might have better cost control mechanisms. We're more efficient full-time employee-wise. So a lot of these metrics are working better. And sure, through fee schedules or just normal improvements, we're seeing some doctor improvement from, let's say, maybe 715 production and maybe 760, 770 production. But we weren't seeing meaningful improvement from a clinical engagement in the practice. So practices were just seeing normal, I say conservative to normal improvement in top line. And, as you might have noticed, and when you look at different statistics from the Healthcare Policy Institute, more and more doctors are coming out with higher and higher student loan debt. And I think today the average student loan debt is like over $400,000.
Hmm.
versus 10 years ago is closer to 250, and it's forecasted to get closer to 500,000 over the next few years. Income, the ability for doctors to have income is meaningful from an associate lens. So we want to look at it from that side. The ability to provide on-demand care from a patient lens is going to be more impactful for practice owners as they want to be competitive in the market, and for patients not to have to come back multiple times, within the practice. So I think that's going to be impactful, and then that results into how businesses scale successfully. We talk about same store growth, and 2 to 3% is great. You normally want to do that, but you want to outperform inflation. When we started to look at that, one of the meaningful gaps was doctor development, procedure mix, all those aspects of it within the practice.
Yeah, because if you're going along with that, that 2% improvement and you're not outpacing inflation, like I said in the intro, that's not a place where you want to hang out. That's going to have no return on the investment that you've made in your career, in your business, or anywhere else. So let's take doctor development and start tying it to this masterclass that we're having in January. And how do we want to roll that out? What will that look like for doctors, and entrepreneurs and owners? What can they expect from a high level? I don't want to get into the details of the sessions just yet, but we know that a change has to be made and there has to be a solution to this problem so that we can outpace that place that we're sitting at now. We know that 5K a day is easily achievable if we have the right tools. So how do we start implementing that?
Yeah, so I mean, our goal for this course is as clinical leaders within practices. So, already some of the people that have registered are clinical leaders within practices, principal partners of practices. As they're coming in, is for them to understand, where they might be in their practices, and that clinical confidence and mentorship and leadership is important to the next growth within their practice, and be able to provide that care at that moment, right? And should there be integration of other specialty within their practice? And what does that look like? Not bringing all specialty within a practice, but improving some base level of care, providing the doctors the confidence to provide more care on the spot to those patients, so those patients don't have to come back for additional appointments. And obviously, that's a disruption for the patient to have to come back for additional appointments, and also inefficient for the practice
Sure.
to have to come back for additional things. I mean, what does that look like? And how does that result to, Jamie, what you said, the $5,000 a day? And I think really some of those audience members that come in will see that we're going to start talking about beyond $5,000 a day being achievable.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that is achievable. I know that's the kind of the baseline or the benchmark that we talk a lot about here, but we have doctors that are sitting there right now and know that they're not hitting their full potential. So, if I'm a doctor, I own, a couple of practices. I have a few associates working with me, maybe some partners. How do I start rolling out, or how do I take a look at what a doctor development program should look like for my practice? And what sort of improvement should I expect as I roll that out?
Yeah, so I mean, I think coming into this course, the goal is, how do you engage the different associates or doctors within your practice? How do you look within your current baseline and what you are doing yourself? So I think it's engaging the clinical leaders within the practice to look at their own baseline of development and how they can improve themselves. And then secondarily, how do they pass on that knowledge to develop the other doctors within their practice? And really, I'm going to use this word not lightly, improve the platform to provide better care in that community. I think that's really what we want to do that through this process. Improve case acceptance, between the patient, to be able to say, here's where you are in the care we want to provide, and here's different options available, and be able to get that patient to understand that this is the good, better, best option, and the best option might be a long-term solution that may not have been historically offered within the practice because the ability of the providers in the practice and their lack of confidence, and want to empower that to so those patients are not being referred out to another practice, or it's just not being done today in the practice.
That empowerment, it sounds simple, but we know there are a lot of layers that go into that. It's the drills that Dr. Raveg talks about a lot on this podcast. It's the constant observation. It's supporting each other. It's not just one leader mentoring everybody. As those doctors come up in their own development, they mentor one another. So again, to our audience, another spoiler alert, we have Dr. Raveg Solanki presenting several sessions during our January masterclass that you'll benefit from. He's a group practice owner, as you know, and has built several de novos, has some acquisitions. He is one of our clinical coaches and has such great impact on a doctor development program. So he's got a ton of insight to share. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the operational side of that as well, right? Because I think when you have all of those pieces in place, like you said, it creates efficiency as well and standardization as well.
Yeah, man, I think, the goal for us is as people come in, they understand that there's such a big journey to grow in their practice. A lot of our group practitioners, and even emerging practice that might be at 1 to 3 locations that are coming in, but I think is that, yes, you can grow through de novos and acquisitions, continue to add locations. And I think those are good decisions to kind of look at opportunistic areas to kind of grow your business through new locations. But there's so much opportunity within the baseline of the 4 walls of existing operations to work with those existing providers that are producing 700,000, get them to 900,000, $1 million, and $5,000 a day. On a 4-day work week, 50 weeks a year. It's about $1 million producing doctor. And if they're working 48 weeks a year, that might be $5,200 a day, $5,100 a day. And I think that allows somebody to be, if they're producing $1 million, they're making more money for themselves, for their families. And that really helps. When we talk to associates and principals all over the United States and practices, they're looking for that mentorship. They're looking for that next level of involvement beyond just coming into the practices, seeing the patients and moving forward. And I think as that's the other aspect of engagement we want to talk to the attendees of is how to better engage their team members and their associates in the practice for the next level of doctor development.
Yeah, and keeping them incentivized and motivated to move forward, expand their procedure mix, expand their case acceptance, expand their confidence and their leadership skills as well. So we do intend to tie all of that into this masterclass. So we've got a lot to offer here. So why don't we start talking about high level some of those sessions that we're going to offer at the masterclass?
Yeah, sure. So I think initially, we're going to kind of go into just how we integrate from general into specialty, right? And what do we mean by that? Just to kind of focus on Dr. Solanki's position on periodontics. When do you integrate some basic level of perio within the practice, and when you refer to a periodontist, as far as implants, things like that being offered at the practice level, and how much an uplift a practice can see by integrating specialty within their practices and within their platform. And from there, connecting the dots to Jamie, what you said, to resulting in $5,000 a day production, and kind of reviewing some cases out there and what that results in. And again, connecting the dots from there to case acceptance, right? I think as your clinical confidence improves, your case acceptance is going to improve. And as a byproduct of that, your overall day improves, your scheduling improves. You end up being the provider in demand, and your staff says, well, Dr. Solanki's booked out for 3 weeks, but we can put you in here, with this process, and those are the things we want to be able to get our attendees to understand, how to get your practice in a position to have better engagement with your patients, and the patients to see that the quality of care being provided in your practices is top notch, and provide our attendees the competitive edge within their market.
Sure. And all of that is done, no doubt, through strategy, right? You've got to have a game plan. You've got to have this well laid out plan for yourself, for doctors, in order for this to be successful. So, tying all those pieces together, we want to build some momentum with doctor development. We want to tie in incentivizing associates and maybe some equity solutions there, as well as streamlining operations and how all of that plays together. And Carrie Smith from Dundesk is going to break up the day at lunchtime as well on that Thursday to talk about some of those operational efficiencies that can be rolled in as well as one of our own team members on Friday, really helping you strategize on how to make this operationally efficient as well.
Yeah, I think, to touch base the operational side, I mean, as you see a practice with two providers doing $2 million and now is on track to do $2.5–3 million, and then you complicate that process across the platform, the operation of the business has to work differently. And the operations team, the scheduling team, everything has to be in lockstep with the providers, right? And vice versa. The providers have to be in lockstep with the operations team. It takes an entire army to make the practice work correctly. And we're going to focus on those aspects on the operational side of it and how that works. And the goal here is over the 2-day event for the attendees to realize that they can build a meaningful growth enterprise through doctor development and aligning operational and clinical philosophies together for the next level of growth, and what that could mean to enterprise value, transaction value, within their practices.
I know that when we started talking about planning for this event, it stemmed from the pain points of the doctors that we talked to. We've got some great groups that we work with out there, but the resounding message is, hey, we're stuck right here in production. We're not achieving the benchmarks that we want to achieve, and we're not growing in the way that we want to grow. People see growth in other aspects, but often they lose sight of the fact that that same store growth can be achievable through programs like this. So I'm really excited that we're doing this, even more so that Dr. Solanki is going to share his experience. If it's one of your peers that has been through this and knows that this works and it's repeatable, and he rolls this out for other groups, I think that's a really impactful message.
Yeah, I think it's going to be impactful for the groups that attend, that are trying to get to the next levels for their practice with their providers, create a foundation for mentorship, development, and ongoing care within their practices.
Absolutely. Anything else our audience should know about the January event? I know I'm excited about it. We've got a lot of people registering now that are ready to go, and they're taking advantage of early bird pricing. What else do they need to know?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the attendees that do come, there is CE credits available, on the day Dr. Solanki is speaking on the clinical component of it. So I think that's a positive aspect there. But I think the key thing is going to be the people that attend, they will take away what I call a lot of Monday morning action plans to come back to their practices of what they need to be doing moving forward within their practices to take their individual enterprises and the group practices to the next level.
Absolutely. Well, Diwakar, it's always good to have you on the show with me here. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited for this January masterclass. I know it's a perfect opportunity to solve for that, almost that stuck place where most doctor owners find themselves, with often what are really great associates that just need a solid development program. And I know they'll walk away from the event with that Monday morning game plan you're talking about, and one that makes sense for their practices.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to having people join us January 15th and 16th in Charlotte, North Carolina.
For sure. Well, I'll also link to the event in the show notes so you can easily register and reserve your seat. Again, this masterclass is intended to be an intimate session, meaning seats are limited, and it's not another large ballroom-style conference where getting your questions answered can be really challenging. You'll have that one-on-one time and networking time to learn and share and ask. So reserve your spot before that early bird pricing ends. Also, we appreciate your support. We have a lot of subscribers that reach out to us here, and we love your questions. So keep them coming, and we'll keep delivering content that you ask for. As always, if you want to learn about any of Polaris Expert Advisory Services, or maybe there's a topic that we haven't covered that you'd like to hear about, you can send us an email to info@polarishealthcarepartners.com, or of course you can reach us by visiting our website and click on that Contact Us button at polarishealthcarepartners.com. Thanks so much for being a loyal listener and subscriber. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a colleague and be sure to leave us a rating on any of your favorite podcast platforms. We'll see you on the next episode of the Group Practice Accelerator Podcast.